Okay, good morning. Welcome to our webinar. My name's Bruce Trevino, Plant Design Solutions Consultant at CAD Group Australia. We're going to run through a workflow using AutoCAD Plant 3D. We're going to go from P&ID to 3D to Isometric, and then have a look at some of the project setup and configuration options that are available. I'm in a P&ID interface at the moment using a PIP protocol. My PIP symbology is on the right hand side here. I have my P&ID ribbon along the top, and I have my project manager palette on the left. I've created a project for the purpose of bringing in a couple of X references that will help us later on, but I haven't created any drawings yet, so let's create some P&IDs. P&ID 1. And let's drop some componentry on here. Pump, the pumper number, and then we've been prompted for a tag, and there's the tag for the pump. Let's place a column. Column can be scaled independently, X and Y. Place the tag. Now we'll route a line. Now deliberately misalign this, so you'll see that things square themselves up quite nicely. If we weren't prompted for a tag on that line, now place a butterfly valve, and you'll see that butterfly valve, the tag is placed automatically. So there are 3 different tagging options. You can be prompted for a tag, you can not be prompted for a tag, or you can have the tag placed automatically. So any class of object can have any one of those 3 options associated with it. We've just, for these different 3 classes of objects, used one of each just to demonstrate the process. Now the line, for instance, we can apply the tag. Let's make it 300, spec carbon steel 150, service, general process, and number 111. There's our line annotation. We can move this valve to any location that we like, and the annotation and the lines will follow and repair each other after. We can place a reducer on the pump suction. We can change the line size on the small side of the reducer. And you'll see that the reducer acquires its sizing from the line elements either side of it. Now let's run a line from the pump discharge, and we'll connect that to a second P&ID using an off-page connector. Now the off-page connector has no information as yet. There are 4 attributes in the off-page connector. Let's give the line some data. Let's make the size 250, same spec, same process. Number 222. And you'll see that one of the attributes has acquired the service, P for general process. There are 3 other attributes. One is the drawing identifier. Now we want to associate this with a line on a second P&ID, so let's create a second P&ID. P&ID 2. Now let's place a piece of equipment on this P&ID. And we'll just route a line, but we won't give it any tagging information. We'll leave the 4 line tag fields blank, represented by question marks there. And we'll go back to our off-page connector, and we'll right-click off-page connector connect, and we want to connect to drawing P&ID 2. Create a connector on the selected drawing. So it's asking us to place that connector, and now it's passing that line data from the first P&ID to the second P&ID, and you'll see that that line has acquired the line tag from that first P&ID. Now, drawing identifiers in the off-page connectors come from a property called drawing number. The drawing title is the identifier that we give the P&ID listed in the Project Manager palette, and it's the file name. A drawing number can be the same as the file name, or you could vary it slightly. See now that the off-page connector has acquired the drawing identifier that it's coming from. There are two other properties: a connector number and an origin or destination. So let's have a look at Data Manager and see what we've got on these P&IDs now. We can look at the current drawing, or we can look at the P&ID project data, and these are all the elements that have been placed in the P&IDs. Annotation elements, equipment, heat exchanger pump and tank. And you can see there's some grey fields in our Data Manager view, and there are some clear fields. So these fields can have data added to them. They can be added by the P&ID operator, or we can add data to these fields in Excel and bring that back into the project. So to initiate that process, we'll export this equipment sheet to Excel. Go to Excel and we'll open that sheet. It is. And we've got a number of different tabs down below here. Now if we go to, if we add some data into one of these, let's say equipment spec, for instance a material spec, SS316 for the vessel, and supply for the pump, and let's leave it at that. So we'll save that. Now we can import those alterations or additions. And you can see the fields that have had alterations made to them are highlighted in yellow. And if we navigate to those items, by clicking in the left-hand column, not the column I was clicking in, there we are, you'll see that they have clouds placed around them indicating that there's been a modification to the data associated with those objects. Now that data can be accepted and then the cloud is cleared. and the data is updated. So there's a couple of different ways that we can update data. We can update things in Data Manager. For instance, we can alter the tag in Data Manager. There. Or if I just drag that down a little, we can come back to the pump and we can alter the tag of the pump. Or we can take the annotation and we can edit the annotation. And you'll see that in each of those instances, the Data Manager data, and the attribute data, and the annotation data were all linked and all updated in real time. Okay, so that's probably enough on the P&ID to be able to pass some data through to the 3D model. So let's just save that as we have it, and we'll create a 3D model, and I'll call this piping. Now I'm just going to X-reference the equipment model that I've got here into this drawing. There we are. Just close some of these things down. I close down Data Manager. So we've got it. We can see a little more clearly. So I've got my column and my pump here. Just rotate the view a little. So let's pull up our P&ID list view. Line 111, and I have a butterfly that I'd like to place against this nozzle. Excuse me. And a line that I'd like to route between the butterfly valve and the pump. I'll just select the start and destination node, and now you can see that I've been given 3 routing options. So let's toggle between those options. N for next, and that one looks quite acceptable. So I'll say A to accept that. So you can see that from the P&ID I've pulled in some piping geometry that is pulling the line number from the P&ID, the size and the spec. Now we can run an isometric of that line. So let's just clear this down. Make sure that we've got all the objects there. Yep. And now let's run an isometric, production isometric. Line 111. It'll just take a moment to come. So there's our isometric. Has the valve, has the pipe work, has the doubly inclined bend, and it has our reducer and pump identifier. P001 nozzle 1, 150 pound. Has our bill of material, the gaskets and bolts, sorry. It's a cut piece list for piping, and it has a weld table. So that's the workflow P&ID to 3D to isometric. Let's just quickly have a look at some of the project setup options that are available to us. We'll start with isometric. We're there most recently. You can create your own isometric style. You can select a style that you would like to modify. You can run through these screens to change your annotation style, dimension style, whether or not you want box or doubly inclined, skew angles, and your title block. So edit the title block. This is quite different to the procedure with Isogen. Identify the areas where you'd like elements to be by drawing rectangles. The drawing area is the green rectangle, the bill of material areas are blue rectangles, and the no draw area is a red rectangle. You can place attributes onto the title block, and those attributes can come from an external spreadsheet or they can come from project properties that have data associated with them. And you can also modify your table appearance, the columns. You can add a column, you could add weight for instance. Add a weight column to your isometric. Return to project setup. Now in P&ID, we have engineering items. We have a class structure for the P&ID engineering items. We have equipment, and under equipment we have subclasses for blowers, compressors, conveyors, pumps and tanks, etc. Inline items, we have hand valve class, pipe fittings, reducers. So just having a look at hand valves, we've got a number of different hand valves there. And each of these objects has a series of properties associated with it, and you can see some of the properties have an asterisk. That property is acquired from a class, from a parent class to that current class. So if you want to make a property change to all of your valves, for instance, come up to hand valve class, and you can add a property into here that you might like to see in your spreadsheet that's not currently available. So let's identify the modification we've made by putting our company prefix. And the property can be a string, can be a number, can be a yes or no, or it could be a selection list. So let's make it a yes or no. Now that property will appear in several places. If we go apply, and we'll go to our P&ID, click on our valve, there's our cat group delivery for that valve, and that the two values can be selected from here. So properties that are added immediately available in your properties box, excuse me. We can also add them to our standard reports. And you can see there's our CAD group delivered property that we've just added. That's now in the report. We can slide that up so that it appears as the first column. CAD group delivered. Apply. And we can review these reports in Data Manager. Reports, valve list, and there's our CAD group delivered value. And it's a yes or no checkbox. So that is all I really wanted to go through today. There's a number of questions, and I'll type up the answers to those questions and attach them with this video. Thank you for listening today, and hope to speak with you soon. Any questions, please send them through to cadgroupnews@cadgroup.com.au and we'll answer them. Thank you very much. Goodbye.